Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 310 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. I got your four basic food groups: beans, bacon, whiskey, and lard. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in the box.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Brittany is doing her best impersonation of a magician's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Don't you just love technical difficulties?
She's stuck in the cabinet of mysteries.
Yes, in Westville.
There's a you'll get that reference if you've watched WandaVision. Rest of y'all are like,
trying
what?
to flourish her way out, but it's not working.
Yeah.
Yes. So she is here. Hi.
She may make her way out of the box, or maybe not. No.
Well, we're gonna try this. So bear with us, folks.
Yeah. If I could see your setup, Brittany, I could try and help you do tech support. But this is the downfall of us doing this, being separated like this. So
yes.
Oh well.
Yep.
It is what it is. So all right. Well, we actually do have some news this week. Unfortunately, it's all 10 o'clock news. This is why they say no news is good news.
Yes.
Because once we finally get news, it's all sad news.
Yes.
This is the way things roll. So we've got a couple of passings to talk about. First is the other half of Siegfried and Roy. As we know, Roy Horn passed away last year from COVID, but his partner Siegfried has now passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of 81. So Siegfried and Roy have been reunited in the afterlife.
Yeah, and reading all the the news reports and things and seeing how old he was. I'm like, oh gosh, yes, I guess he was that old, and I didn't never really thought of it. It's like he's 81. Holy cow.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because you think of Siegfried and Roy and you think of like the iconic images of them.
Yeah.
They're tigers and stuff, and they seem like a couple of guys that maybe like in their 40s, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm like, oh well, yeah, I guess those images I would have, I would have seen them when I was a kid on TV or whatever, and so like, oh yeah, I guess time has passed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But that was a bit of a blow.
Yeah.
But then to find out he'd had cancer, and so it's a little, I don't know, when someone passes from cancer, it's a little bittersweet because I'm like, well, cancer is so horrible anyway, and a part of you is like glad that they're no longer suffering. At the same time, it's like, you don't want you to go.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear about cancer death, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. But now he and Roy and I guess all of their beloved animals that had passed before them are reunited and amusing those in the afterlife with their tricks.
Yeah, they can put on a show in heaven.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Oh. And then our other passing. This one's sad. They're all sad, but this one, I know this kind of really sad to me in a way. But Joanne Rogers, the widow of Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, has passed away at the age of 92. So, um, with they haven't given a cause of death, but she was 92. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and this one I think is a little more bittersweet, just because Mr. Rogers passed away 2003,
2003. Yeah.
and so she's been widowed for 17 years, and I think bless her. I mean, she kept Mr. Rogers' work going, and the
Mhm.
foundation and everything. Um, I'm sure she missed him, quite frankly, and it's kind of one of those. I mean, I saw a cartoon, an illustration of someone drawing Mr. Rogers welcoming his wife into the afterlife, and it said, and now it really is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So it was really sweet, and I'm like,
Make me
yeah,
cry.
I know. I'm just like,
Thanks, Chrissy.
I guess I shouldn't have brought it up, but no, I'm just like, it's okay. It's I'm sure it's okay, and I'm sure he was there to greet her,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
but bless her for her work, bless her for all these years keeping his work and the memory alive, and all that she did. So
Mhm.
it's it like I said, it's bittersweet. Almost it's a celebration of sorts.
Yep.
How I want to think about it. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's um she's done a really good job of keeping Fred's legacy going since his passing. Of she's part of the documentary that came out several years ago, and she makes a cameo in the Tom Hanks movie, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. So which that made me happy when she popped up on the screen. I'm like, Joanne. I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, I wonder how many people actually know who she was when she appeared on screen.
Seriously. It's Mrs. Rogers, you guys. Come on. But yeah, she will be missed, but I am certain there was a joyous reunion.
Yes. Maybe he took her to go see Siegfried and Roy.
But it's possible.
Her performance.
Oh, it's just funny how some of these celebrity passings line up, and it's like you would never think of them together except when they pass.
Yeah. Hey, he had magicians on his show, so
this is true. This is very true.
So yeah, so there's that news. So we shall move on to feedback. So we've got some feedback from Shalane. And bouncing off of our discussion last week, drawing names out of a hat. As we mentioned, Hugo Weaving was one of the voices in the movie Babe, and she mentions that the voice of Babe, Christine Cavanaugh, was a what do you call you guys in Utah? Like in Indiana, we're Hoosiers. Do you guys have a name for people from Utah?
Utah. I don't know. We're not that creative.
Oh, okay. She was a Utah native.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really call ours. Yeah, we don't really do like beehive staters or something. Nah.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we had something, but
yeah. Or maybe here in Indiana we're just special. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're special, all right, but that's another discussion. Anyway, so there's a Utah connection there.
Yes. We all get very excited about those things.
Yeah.
Because they seem to happen so rarely. But anyway.
And then she also mentions that Ming-Na Wen came to Salt Lake's Comic-Con. sometime in the past?
Yes. When was she there? I don't remember. All my memories of Comic-Con, kind of since we didn't
Blur
have it.
together.
Yeah, they blur together. I'm like, now what year was that? I have to go back and look it up, or
Yeah.
but yeah, she was there at some point. I don't.
It makes sense. I mean, you guys, this is a big con, and
yeah, and it seems to get a lot of different really really big names. So
yeah.
so she was there one year. Don't ask me which one it was because I cannot remember off the top of my head.
It was a year you didn't go, maybe.
That is entirely
Shalane didn't
possible.
get to go for according to her feedback. She wanted to, but she couldn't.
She's only been once, if I recall correctly, and only because I took her.
Yeah.
Hopefully
You're
I'll get
a good sister.
Hopefully I'll get the chance to take her to just go again. Jeez.
Yeah,
but
just
anyway.
go again, let alone take somebody.
Yes. That's another rant.
That's a whole other ball of wax. Yeah.
Seriously, but
anyway. So well, hopefully whenever conventions are a thing again, that Ming Na Wen will come back.
Yes.
Make a repeat appearance, and you'll actually get to see her. I would love to meet her. She seems like she would be fun person to talk to. So, well, thank you, Shalane, for your feedback.
Yes, indeed. And if any of our listeners want to send feedback, the email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
You too can be read out on the podcast.
You know we love reading, but sometimes it's hard to find time to physically sit down with a book, which is why the Five-ish Fangirls has proudly partnered with Audible. Audible is a leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs. Whatever makes you squee, there's a perfect listen for you. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals. Whether you're adventuring through time and space, running from dinosaurs, or capturing ghosts, with the free app, audiobooks go where you go. You can download titles and listen offline, anytime, anywhere. Even if you switch devices, you'll never lose your place. And right now, Five-ish Fangirls listeners can sign up for a free 30-day trial by going to audibletrial.com/fiveishfangirls. That's 30 days to check out not only their huge collection of audiobooks, but also podcasts, guided wellness programs, theatrical performances, A-list comedy, and exclusive Audible originals you won't find anywhere else. So continue the joy of reading with Audible. Don't see a title that trips your trigger one month? No problem. Your credit will roll over to the next month, and you can quit anytime and keep the books you've acquired forever. For more details and to sign up for your free 30-day trial, visit audibletrial.com/fiveishfangirls. That's audibletrial.com/fiveishfangirls. And now, back to the podcast. All right. Well, moving on to this week's main topic. We are headed back into the Disney vault-ish, I guess. With
it's 20 years.
Yeah.
As of this year, which kind of floored me because I remember
as of this coming June.
Yeah, which I remember seeing this movie in theaters, and I'm like, holy cow! I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that would be right. 20 years.
Yeah. So we are going to take a look at the Disney animated feature film, Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Yeah.
Which, I had never seen before. I knew of it. I knew who Lila Thatch was.
Yeah.
I knew it was Michael J. Fox, but beyond that, I knew nothing. And I knew Kita by visual, but other than that, I knew nothing.
It's and again, people will probably know it. It's in that weird, I don't know, we want to call
post Disney Renaissance.
Yeah, the kind of the experimental era of Disney
Yeah,
animation, if you want to.
they had rode the wave of the Renaissance with Beauty and the Beast and the Little Mermaid and all that in the late 80s, early 90s, and going into the, quote unquote new millennium. At this point, the uh, the Eisner Katzenberg drama had ended ish. Well, I mean, Katzenberg at this point had left.
Yes, because
but
this was the same year that Shrek came out from DreamWorks. So
yeah, so whenever we get to the Eisner Katzenberg thing, just trust us. Just because he left does not mean that the drama just ended.
no, it really didn't, and it showed at the movie theater very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
So like Disney, they were like, well, it kind of looking back on it, like I was late middle school through high school. Actually, I was 16 when this one came out. It kind of felt like they were trying to get away from the musicals and the fairy tales and that kind of thing. They wanted to do new things, which, you know what, good on them. I there's nothing wrong with that at all. And also this was the time of, CGI, we can do everything. In fact, I remember watching Disney Channel, and every time a new Disney movie was coming out, they would have all kinds of behind the scenes things. I mean, they had this show called The Movie Surfers. I don't know if anyone remembers that one. But they would, they and it was always talking about new movies coming out, and they were just, every movie that came out, they were so hyped up on CGI and computer graphics, and oh my gosh, look at this, it's so innovative, it's so this. And then I was watching this movie again after so many years of not having seen it. It is pretty. It really is. I mean, you can kind of tell that the graphics are a little dated, but not obscenely so. I'm sitting there going like, this one is fun to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The look is definitely something that stood out to me as soon as I started watching this. And actually one of the things, and this is something that was brought up in my research, is one of the things that first stood out to me was the characters' hands, especially Milo's hands.
Yes.
Like, that's so weird that they're so square.
Yes.
And kind of blocky looking. And then I was reading, and one of the people to work on the concept art was the guy that went on to create Hellboy, which Hellboy has very blocky fingers.
Yes, they're all squared off. Like,
yeah,
you can't. I mean, I even remember seeing it on the big screen, and you see like everybody has the square fingers, and then their fingernails like an inverted triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has that. Men, women, tall, short, whatever. Milo, Dr. Sweet, doesn't matter. They all have the same kind of hands. All of that. And it's just, I just always remember like, okay.
Yeah.
One of those things. But then again, you think of Lilo and Stitch, and everybody, all the characters are round and squishy, and so it's just kind of it's a design,
it's a look.
Yeah, it's a design look.
Yeah,
but it's
a design choice.
Yeah. One thing I read said, I want to say it was like Siskel and Ebert. I think Ebert said like they look like comic book. It looks like a comic book character or comic book design. I'm like, and then finding out the guy went on to create Hellboy. Well, there you go.
A little bit. So me being me, and I can't just watch something. I have to dive in and find out every little measly little detail about something. But this actually, in the process of doing the research about this particular movie, of course, I had to dive a little deeper, to quote Tiana, and and learn a bit more about the history of just Atlantis and the legend of Atlantis, which I will put links to several videos on YouTube from like National Geographic and the History Channel and other people talking about the legend of Atlantis, um, because where this movie came from was actually in the late 90s, in 96, where Gary Truesdale, Kirk Weiss, Don Hahn, who is a Disney legend, Tab Murphy, who was the screenwriter, had gotten together um, to have lunch, and they had all worked on The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Um, and they enjoyed working together so much on that they were like, we should come up with an idea so we can work together again. And but they didn't want to do another musical, and they wanted to do something, outside of the Disney box. Um, and they are all fans of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and they wanted to do something, kind of more on an adventure epic type film, kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Don Hahn came up with the idea of a group of adventurers, all Indiana Jones, exploring to find something, and kind of like journey to the center of the earth and that sort of thing. And uh, they also pulled from Jules Verne, the Time Machine and,
Right.
and things like that. And they were like, okay, what could you go searching for while on Earth? And Atlantis is what they kind of landed on. And because the legend and the mythology is just so all over the place, that they realized that they could interpret it how they wanted to and still make it work. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, well, I kind of know most people, they hear the name Atlantis and they're like, oh, mythological city that existed thousands of years ago and disappeared. And it gets referenced all over the place. I mean, Atlantis gets raised from the ocean in Good Omens,
How many Doctor Who stories deal with the lost city of Atlantis?
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah.
the mythology and legend has been around for a long time, but I really just knew that. And the thing is, though, it depends on who you talk to as far as historians are concerned. The I guess the more practical, historians take Atlantis for what they assumed it was supposed to be, which was a story written by Plato back in the 1500s, uh, or something like that.
It was
Yeah,
ancient Greece, so
yeah, ancient
300 BC.
So a long time ago. Yeah, there's a piece of art from the 1500s. That's what I was looking at. Sorry, getting distracted by pretty pictures. I'm like, picture of Plato. Oh wait, no.
So yeah, Plato.
That's what that's from. Not Plato himself. He goes back quite a bit further.
Ancient Greek philosopher.
And they were like, he wrote this story about the city of Atlantis, this culture. And I was like, well, he's a philosopher. Why the heck was he writing essentially, why did he write this in the first place? It seemed a bit out of what I equate Plato with. And most people think that the story is a allegory for ancient Athens, because in his story, Atlantis is kind of this utopian society, but they get there and they work really well. They become this really advanced society with advanced technology and language and mathematics and all of that stuff, but man, they're still human, and man's ego essentially gets
hubris.
in the way. Yeah, the hubris, and therefore the gods decide to punish them for getting too big for their britches, and the city is destroyed by the gods as punishment for getting full of themselves. And the practical people are like, okay, that's what it is. It's an allegory. It's a metaphor. It's Plato writing something saying, hey, people of Athens, don't, yes,
Don't
we're doing good things here with science and math and and
remember where all this comes from.
yeah, exactly.
Don't
You're
take
not
out the gods.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So the people that take it as that, they're like, okay, yeah, it was just a metaphor,
Mhm.
and that's the end of it. But then there are some people that are thoroughly convinced that Plato created Atlantis based on something that actually existed. And those are the people that even nowadays are, using the latest and greatest technology to try and figure out where Atlantis is.
That is modern day Milo's.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Which,
So,
brings us to the beginning of our story
Mhm.
and our hero. And I'm going to say this from the outset. Whenever I hear this is one movie I would not mind Disney doing a remake of, a live action remake.
No.
Because it is there are so many cool ideas in this story and so many good characters. I feel like maybe at the time, like, because Lord of the Rings hadn't happened yet when this came out. It was going to happen, but it hadn't happened yet.
Mhm.
And so, like, the
Oh my-
big epic kind of thing was not. It really wasn't something you did. And Disney, it didn't make money at the movies. It wasn't for, what general audiences. They just weren't into that. And as I'm watching this movie, I'm sitting here going like, there's is so much story here that you have to compress down to an hour and a half, and it feels so rushed. And I'm like, I want to take the time to sit here with these characters and talk to they do that a little bit. And we find out about Milo's grandfather and then all the different the members of the crew and all that stuff, but it feels kind of just shallow. Like, okay, we talked about this one, now we're on to the next thing and we're on to the next set piece, and I'm like, I want to see more of it. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel like, there's this stuff about Atlantis going down, what the power, where all that comes from, what their civilization was like, how it all devolved to the point where they can't even read their own language anymore. And it's just, there's a lot to work with here. I just feel like maybe they tried to do too much all at once. So I'm just kind of like, Disney, you have this nice little property here. That why don't you remake that one instead of doing another Lion King or something?
Mhm.
Because it is an interesting story, especially there's that beginning scene. Well, we'll the beginning scene with Atlantis and Kita's mother going up into the bright lights, and I have so many questions. It's like, how does that work?
Well, as soon as you see her necklace go up, it's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and
Which
especially
really doesn't get it.
yeah, it's like, especially where same thing happens to Kita later, but it's like she survived. And
Right.
they talk about, and it's based on your emotions. Well, okay, can we go into that a little more detail, a little more explanation? Because I feel like there's a good story here. It's just not
Mhm.
quite there. Because you're too busy over here giving everybody quippy Joss Whedon lines,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
which are funny, but don't tell me anything about these characters.
Which, funnily enough, actually, Joss Whedon worked on this movie for like 2 minutes.
Oh,
Yes.
you're kidding.
Yeah, no.
No, he actually
I was about to
he gets a writing credit at the end.
Yeah.
It has
No
like,
wonder it's some of the lines. It's like, ooh, that could have come
Yeah,
from a
he didn't
Buffy.
work on it very long, but yeah,
Mhm.
long enough to get a credit.
yeah. And like the crew, they all, and like, this feels like Firefly. These these
Mhm.
disparate people.
Yep.
The teenager who's a mechanic, and there's the
Yeah.
big burly guy who's the doctor, and there's the creepy little mole man, and the
Yeah.
the demolition expert. Like all these all these weird people who
Office
come together,
supplies.
like,
Mhm.
yeah. I was like,
And then
yeah,
Cookie.
that's a Cookie. Oh my gosh.
Here's your 4 food groups: bacon, lard, whiskey, and what
Bacon.
was the other one? I said bacon. Bacon, lard, whiskey. Is that it?
Well, what did I say?
You did it in
Beans,
the
bacon, whiskey, and lard. There you go.
Beef.
Yes.
Okay, I missed the beans.
Yeah, or the radio operator. She's like, I sleep in the nude.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no.
Yes. Honey, he took his suitcase. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put you on hold. I got another call coming in.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, there are so many just funny lines, and this one it would be. I feel like it would be quotable to the ranks of almost maybe even Princess Bride quotable, except the characters in the story, there's not enough there to remember it, which is a shame because I'm sitting there like, oh, I want to see. It reminds me of Road to El Dorado.
Yes.
When they go, which a DreamWorks, huh?
Yes.
When they go to the city, and they spend some time looking at it and getting to know the characters and the people and all these things. And I'm like, we never really had that moment with Atlantis in this, and I so wanted it. I wanted to see, like, what is this culture like? What are these people like? What do they do for fun?
Yeah, like they set it up with the with like the the land speeder or whatever those things are supposed to be, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, well, I'll be able to see the entire city, and then it immediately crashes. So then they just have to climb up like this one rock, and then we get this good panoramic view, and then we get see a little bit of the civilization as the rest of the adventurers go through, and you're like, oh, it's like, oh, look at how many tattoos that guy has. But yeah, I mean, there could have been a whole lot more world building.
Yeah, I mean, we have to interrupt the tattoos to show Cookie making Rhode Island dance.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you kind of interrupted a really good moment here, but
Well, I love the fact too that they start out. Milo tries French and responds, and then Mole says something, and he gets slugged.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody did that, and then it's just like, then James Garner's character speaks English, and this is like, okay, Rosetta Stone, or is there a hidden TARDIS translator somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do try to explain it, and the fact that they went so far as to hire a linguist to come up with an actual
Not
language.
just any linguist.
Yes.
Not just any linguist.
The guy who invented Klingon.
Yep. And Vulcan.
And Vulcan.
Or Star Trek.
Wow.
Yeah. So this
says a lot.
language, yeah,
Yep.
this language is an actual functioning language, and they just used it for, well, I guess it had a sequel, but they used it for this one movie, and it's like, holy cow! Do you realize, you guys? What are you doing with all this? Nothing. It's just sitting there because it wasn't a popular movie in the day, and I'm like,
wealth of knowledge.
I mean, I feel like it feels like they were trying to set up a whole maybe TV series or something, because there is so much there. There is so much, Milo's whole thing about, he's been trying to get funded, and the museum people don't take him seriously. But then there's also the little stories about, Audrey, her father wants someone to run the mechanic shop and someone to be a heavyweight champion, and it's her and her sister, and I'm like, or is it Vinny? See, that's the thing, I don't remember their names. I just remember
Vinny is the demolitions expert.
Yes,
He's Italian.
Yeah, like he has his little flower shop, and I'm like, oh, let's go see your flower shop, dude, because and we just get these little snippets of what's going on.
And the doctor and his love affair with his saw at the beginning. It's like, okay, if that doesn't scream Jane and Bertha.
Vera.
Or Vera, sorry. I don't know what does.
It's like, it's like I almost like forget the remake. Let's do Firefly, but make it Atlantis. So
Mm-hmm.
or something. It's just I feel
Sorry,
like
Stargate.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't seen much Stargate, so I don't know. Sure.
It's
There's a
not bad,
Stargate
but
Atlantis.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it feels like they were really hyped up on the visuals, which again they're stunning, and the language. But there's not enough character here to really care, and I want to because these people are interesting, but they don't give me enough time with them for me to to get all that invested. And maybe that's I mean there's I feel like I'm nitpicking this too much, and I'm not. Well, I am, but it's also a feeling of I want this one to be good. If I didn't care so much, I would I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah,
But
we wouldn't be
it's
talking
just
about it.
no. I mean, there are some of these Disney movies from this early 2000s time period, like that I just don't even care about. Like Bolt, I'm like, what? Don't care.
Mhm.
But this one, I'm like, I really want. When I remember seeing it, and remember getting so hyped up on it, and I really wanted it to be good, but there was just nothing there for me to hold on to. Like, I think of the movies like Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King and all those movies. I just even Hunchback of Notre Dame to an extent. These characters I cared about because I got their story, I got their personality, I got what was important to them, and not just around a campfire. Let's expositioning. Um, I felt like there was some heart behind it, and I didn't get that one so much with this, and I really wanted to. So this is a call out for Disney. You're doing all these live action remakes. Remake this one and make it better, because there's a lot that you can work with.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's some things where it's like there are several times where I'm like, it's like, oh, I can see what you were trying to do here, but you just didn't quite get it. So, and then there are some times where I like when they start introducing the characters and they introduce um Commander Rourke um and and Helga and but especially Rourke and as they're loading up the submarine to leave, and I was like, you're probably gonna end up being a bad guy.
Yeah, it's
Like, you
kind of
just
obvious.
scream stereotypical older white dude in a position of power, and you're probably going to get greedy and turn on everyone, which is exactly what happened. But what I did not see coming was everybody turning on Milo except for Dr.
Right.
Sweet.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that I'm like, oh, we're doing this plot again. Like we did it with Pocahontas. It was basically Avatar.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Power
you could
corrupts.
you could have some, and you could have something really special here where, because they get to the Atlantis, and Milo meets Kida, and she says, like, we don't even know how to read our own language, and Milo's like, he's got the book there and he's reading what it all means, and she's like, you know what this means, you know what all this is. I mean, the fact that their civilization is crumbling and they have not been able to make contact with the outside world, they've never been able to get help. It's like, it could have been, that could have been the situation, the antagonist, or whatever. It didn't have to be greedy military guy, because we've seen that so dang many times, and it's like, we get it, wag your finger at us, no, it's like, yeah, we get it, that's not an interesting story because we've heard it way too much. And I want to know, like, why can't the Atlanteans read their language anymore? Why did they stop teaching it? Or was there a magical reason for this?
Yeah, they've been locked away for 8,000 years. What have they been doing all this time?
Yeah, like what's going on? Like there are so many questions here, and they try to answer some of them, but most of it's just down to King Leonard Nimoy just saying, "I didn't want my daughter to get to get
It's like, we
sucked
don't
into it."
need
It's like,
to advance. We've been preserved. I'm like, well, that's not very progressive of you.
yeah, you've been preserved. Okay, yeah. Anyone ever do food storage, like preserving fruit and jam and stuff?
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
use it eventually. Otherwise, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how well it's preserved.
It's
And
going to
they've
have an
been-
expiration date.
Yes, it's
Yes.
gonna go bad. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been down
At
there
some
for
point in time, it's gonna go-
thousands
yeah.
of years.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like you're preserving your culture or your people for what exactly? Like, why are you preserving them?
Yeah, so
Why
you're
are
cut
you?
off from the rest of the world, so it's like you're preserving it for future generations to continue to preserve it for.
Like yeah, like why? Like who is this for? Why are you using it and you're not? So it's like, I mean, let's explore this. There's a really good story here, but no, they have to go with we're gonna, big bad evil military guy stealing the superpower phlebotinum to make money, and it's like, really, really,
Mhm.
really. And so they have to go rescue Kita, get the crystal out, and all or whatever it is. I mean, they don't really give it a name for it. Like Milo even says, like, I thought it was a battery, you thought it was a crystal, we were both wrong. Okay, what was it? Never explained. It was a thing with
Yeah.
the glowy
the frog.
bits.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the giant bug zapper in this, except it's the opposite. Instead of the zapping the bugs zap you, apparently.
Oh yeah.
Or in this
Gosh.
case, set you on fire.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about those literal fireflies.
Yeah.
that
You
come
want
up and, like,
firefly? There you go.
like It's like we're all gonna die.
The whole thing was the volcano and the lava.
Mhm.
And
Or-
we're just having a field day, and then you have our munitions pounding away on something, and they're all looking at him like, "Be careful with that."
Maybe I should do this later.
Gives whole new
or-
meaning to the power is lava.
Yes, it literally is. Or there was the bit like, apparently other ships have come down here, and there's ships from all these different eras, and they've all been destroyed because their Atlantis is protecting itself. Why aren't they surprised, like, oh wow, someone made it through? Yeah, like, how did you do that? What's just like, there's just so many things that they kind of just introduce and then it goes away.
Yeah, it was like, is the Leviathan just acting on its own
Yeah.
accord then? Is it just working on instinct?
Like if your power is fading, like what is going on? And it's just kind of like, you've ever watched those pitch meeting videos, and I just feel like, and we have to go to the next one. Why? So the movie can happen. Fair enough. Because
Yes, because movie.
yes. And I don't know. I just sit there and like, but wait, oh, okay, we're going here. Yeah, I want more. I want more from this, and I want to know, like, how Atlantis ticks. I want to know how they've survived this long. What are their plans? How does, and again, there is a sequel which I have not sat down to watch. How can Milo, what does Milo do to help them, to help figure out how to get their society back on track? How do they, do they always stay down there? What is going on? Or how does all this stuff work? I feel like there's just so many stories here, so much potential, and that's what frustrates me about this movie. Is I want more. This movie is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's not. It's not complete. I feel like there's something missing, and I want it.
Yeah,
but it is
that's
pretty.
kind of how I feel about,
Mhm.
and that's probably why partially why I latched on to just reading up on more about the
Mhm.
mystery and watching these documentaries about, the legend of Atlantis and stuff. Because there's a lot of people out there, my husband included. We've had this discussion that love the idea of space travel and seeing what's out there in space. But I am one of the, it's like, yeah, space, it's great. But I am one of those people that I'm like, we are here on this planet. Let's figure out what's in the water. I am all for exploring the oceans. So that was like right in my wheelhouse. Uh, watching at some of these documentaries and the technology that people use nowadays to like photograph ocean beds and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And I've been wanting to get my scuba certification for ages and ages and ages. And I'm like, if this might be the motivation I need. Like, give me more. I want more. Find out what's in the water. Forget
Yeah,
Jaws. I'm
it's
not scared.
it's like who's living down at the bottom of the ocean?
Mm-hmm.
Although apparently, and I'd never heard of this one before. Apparently, there are some similarities between this and a Japanese anime program,
Yes.
Nadia, A Secret of Blue Water, and I'm like, I have never heard of this before.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I need to find this show because this sounds interesting. Um, 39 episodes wouldn't be too hard to watch,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, but then again, like you said earlier, you've got Jules Verne, 2000 Leagues Under the Sea, which Disney did a movie of years and years ago.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not a new concept of let's explore the ocean, let's see what's down there, and maybe there is a lost city um that people are still living there.
Yeah.
Who knows? For all we know.
Yeah. I don't know
Um,
if there's anybody living at the bottom of the ocean, like people wise, but there have been some interesting things that have been discovered just because of the the continents as we know them have shifted
right.
over eons, and water levels rise and lower, mostly rising. So there have been civilizations, or at the very least, towns and villages that have been lost uh, from time because of natural phenomena, or it's like, an earthquake, and that causes the ground to shift, and stuff gets covered by lava, and then an ash. And it was all, we all know what happened to Pompeii. So it is it's the whole thing just like scratches my inner Indiana Jones
Yeah.
spot.
That little itch.
I should have become an archaeologist.
But then you got to deal with the snakes and the spiders.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
I could do all the bits back in the lab.
Well,
somebody
yeah,
else go to
when
the jungle, bring me the stuff.
You're like, I will analyze it for you when you get here, which
Mhm.
is kind of like you see Milo, he's at the museum studying and trying to get funding, and then he finally gets out in the field, which he's never done, and he's so incompetent, but at the same time that's not what he's there for. When it matters, finding where they need to go, he's actually pretty good at what he does.
Mhm.
So you could be that. You could be you don't have to go out in the field. You can be the one that's like, here, I'm going to study how this stuff works and tell you
Yes.
what to do.
Yeah.
But
I'm not very good with languages though, so I can't be your expert in gibberish.
well, there's other things you can do. History,
Yes.
artifacts. I don't know.
Yep.
There's ways to do it.
You need someone to be hunched over a table with a little brush cleaning things. I can do that.
Yes, I'll take pictures.
Yep.
Put a ruler up against it.
Yep.
Sure. But yeah, no, it's now. But yeah, now I guess I should watch the sequel. I keep going back. Like, I want more. Well, there's a sequel. I haven't watched it. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm sure it's a. I'm sure it's it's just one of those Disney direct to DVD sequels.
Yeah. It's there on Disney
Definitely not one of my
Plus, but-
favorites.
Yeah, it is. I saw it earlier when I was watching it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I'm just seeing. I'm looking at the cast on that one, and Phil Lamar, huh? Nice. Okay, I gotta watch this one.
It's definitely yeah. I mean, it's got this movie definitely has a lot of good things going for it.
Yes, yes, it really does.
Just didn't quite meet
Mhm.
its potential.
Yeah, and it could be a factor of when it came out, or because how do I say this? Early 2000s, it felt like people wanted to do something new, especially Disney. They wanted to do some new stuff. They wanted to get away from what they'd been doing before. So they did this movie. They did Treasure Planet. They did Lilo and Stitch was in there too, and Lilo and Stitch is great.
Yeah.
It did fairly well, but it's like they wanted to do these big adventure movies, but it kind of felt like they're like people felt like, Disney, you didn't tell us you were doing this. Like, where are your fairy tales? Where's this? Where's that? And it's like people weren't quite ready for it. I think now they would, especially if it was maybe even a Pixar movie or something like that. I feel like a movie like this would do well now.
Yeah.
With the whole adventure thing, the team up, the ensemble cast,
Yeah.
especially if you put it together as an ensemble and it's not just Milo and Kita and these other people. Give them that. So the skeleton of the story is there for them to kind of remake it if they wanted to. I just kind of wish they would let people let them take a risk on something like that, and like, okay, here's this movie that kind of didn't do so well for us 20 years ago. Let's see if we can make it better as a remake and not just rehash. Oh, this is our most beloved classic. Here's a warmed over redo of it that nobody really wanted.
Well, and now that we're in the we've had the era of like big epic adventure with Lord of the Rings, and now that Star Wars has become a thing again, and the MCU and stuff, that a big action adventure fantasy type movie, people may be more amenable to it. Although what's interesting is it came out the same day as Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Well,
no,
that
and
one
the
had
first
Angelina
Fast and
Jolie
the first Fast and the Furious came out a week later. 2001 was an interesting year because that was the year of the first Harry Potter movie. And then we got the first Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, but it didn't come out until December of 2001. So
when Harry Potter was in November. But there were some big movies that came out this year, so it could have just been this one just kind of got lost in the shuffle. Shrek came out this year. In fact, the thing even said that it basically lost out to Shrek, and because that one was so it was a fairy tale, but it was a new take on it. It was CG. It was completely CGI, and it was they made a big deal about the character, the cast. They made a big deal about the humor, and just the marketing was just so much. Disney marketed this movie like they'd marketed all their fairy tale movies, like the same thing. DreamWorks marketed Shrek as a comedy, and really what they should have marketed Atlantis is an adventure with the little more mature, like it even had a PG rating, which kind of I think kind of some parents were probably like, Disney movies PG, what? I mean, now it's a common occurrence, but at the time it was like, Disney movies are rated G, like what's going on here? But Shrek,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's not.
underwater.
And the thing is, there's not really a whole lot in there to give it the PG. Although Rourke's death, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
when
there's
turns blue and
yeah.
And
Although there's Milo, he gets hit and he's got a cut that bleeds or a couple other things. So that was a little.
And then you got one character that's chain smoking throughout the entire movie too. So
yes, or well, and Vinny and Rourke have matches in their mouths like they're smoking. So it was like they're trying to do an older like a movie for more mature kids and adults even, but it was still Disney. So you kind of had that. Oh, you do the little kid movies. Well, this isn't for little kids in a way. But then Shrek was like, this is for everybody. This is adults. Adults will enjoy it. Kids will enjoy it, which,
it's like, look, fart jokes. Everybody likes those.
Yeah, fart jokes and innuendos and, adult jokes that the grown-ups will get and the kids will have no idea. But yeah, so Shrek, it was new and it was flashy and it was huge, and that one, it's easy to see why that one won out over this one, if indeed they were competing, which they kind of were. But I feel like Disney, they kind of they had to kind of go through this time period, and they came out with some really good stuff. It just kind of got overshadowed by other things going on. And then they figured out what they were doing, and then they got better as time went on. And then again, I just come back to, there's all these movies that are just kind of meh. All these anime movies are kind of meh. It's like, come on guys, revisit these, retool them, rework them. I think you can do better. In fact, I think I know now they could do it better, especially since they have so much more experience, especially like with Marvel and Star Wars. That they've been working on. It's like, okay, I think we can do this, because it is a fun movie. It's a fun adventure sort of thing, and like you said, it's it's Indiana Jones basically. So you can do an homage.
I agree with you. This one I would like to see them go back and revisit.
Yeah. So Disney, whoever's in charge over there now, Bob Iger, is he still at the helm, sort of? Yeah,
for a little bit.
Really. Whoever his replacement is, I know I read his name and I can't remember. Whoever that is, go tell him, go do this. Come on, because the Five-ish Fangirls podcast told him to. But yeah, I like it. I feel like it could be better, and that's really what my outlook on it is. Like, I enjoy it. I want more, and I want it to be a little better. And good grief, I mean, they hired the guy who invented Klingon to come up with Atlantean. Like, I love it. I wish it was attached to something a little more substantial. But anyway, no, it's still fun.
Yep.
Anyone else have anything they want to say? Like we said, Rachel, you've got links to documentaries about Atlantis you're gonna put in the show notes, yes? So yeah, check those out. Maybe you'll learn something, or just kind of tickle your ancient Greece mythology, philosophy, ancient mystery funny bone.
Yeah.
And if you're
a
bored,
history nerd like I am.
Yeah, if you're bored and you're like, what's on YouTube? Is there a cool documentary? Well, there you go. We've got you some links.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff from. Yeah. Like I said, from sources like National Geographic, all the way down to Joe Schmo, who just decided to put together a video, but maybe has a different perspective than
Yeah, like this is my research, what I did, which because people can do that.
Mhm.
But anyway, so if any of our listeners have an insight on Atlantis: The Lost Empire, or even the sequel, or have any thoughts about how would you fix this movie if indeed you feel like it needs to be fixed? Actually, I kind of want to pose that question to Jared because writer brain. It's like I wonder how you do that. But send us feedback. Like I said, email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. Go to our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, to find links to all of our social media, where you can leave comments on Facebook and Instagram and our YouTube channel. You can also download us wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And you can also, if you feel so inclined, please support the podcast through Patreon, through our Amazon store, through our Audible link. We also have merchandise. We're always adding new stickers and designs as we think of them. So, and we thank you always for your support, for listening, for commenting, for feedback. It's what makes us doing this podcast fun and enjoyable, and we like knowing that there's people out there who are enjoying what we're doing. So hope you all are doing well, staying safe, staying sane, and that everything is okay wherever you are.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And if you want to maybe send in feedback for our next upcoming episode, we're staying in the Disney wheelhouse, and you may be seeing spots
And wagging tails.
Yeah, lots and
White
lots
noses.
of spots. So.
I won't hum too much more. We don't want to get taken down.
Yeah. So on that earworm, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Troy saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. To whoever took the L from the motor pool sign, ha ha, we're all very amused.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefiveishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/fiveishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/fiveishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/fiveishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.